Well, it's recording. Good morning.
Good morning. My name's Dick Kill. I'm counselor for the area, and we're holding a public information meeting this morning regarding an application from Kevin Rhodenizer, Rhodenizer Salvage. It's file number 20-16. It's March 25th, 2021. And being the counselor for the area, I'm chairing this meeting. I want to welcome everyone, and we will go forward to try to inform the public regarding this application. It could be of community interest. Planning staff will explain the policies under which council may consider the application and the criteria used to evaluate the proposal. And no evaluation or decisions have been made at this point. This is a preliminary meeting. The information meeting also gives the applicant the chance to present the proposal directly to those interested, allows the neighbors to ask questions and provide early comments via phone call or email to the planner, Mark Fredericks, to be included as part of the staff report to the Planning Advisory Committee. Again, I'm Dick Kellum, counselor for the area, and Mark Fredericks is here. He is the planner representing the applicant as far as the municipality is concerned. And I will turn it over to Mark to go forward with the application. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. And I'm going to share my screen and go through a few slides. And my contact information is at the end of those slides. So if you're watching this recording and have any questions or comments, there's email and telephone information at the end. All right, are you able to see that, Councillor?
Yes.
My screen there?
Yeah, I've got trees.
Oh yeah, there we go. Okay, super. So we've got an application excuse me, from Kevin Rhodenizer, who's one of the owner-operators of Rhodenizer Salvage. They are requesting an appropriate zone be applied to their existing operation on Hiltz Road, which is in Garland, Kings County. The proposed amendment here is to rezone a portion of that land to the rural industrial zone to better recognize the existing recycling and salvage operation on this property. So the purpose of this meeting is, as the councillor mentioned, it's a preliminary step. We are just looking to inform the public of this application, explain some of the planning policies, and hopefully receive some feedback, questions, or comments from the general public. The proposal, again, is to rezone a property or a portion of a property on Hiltz Road to the rural industrial zone. This is currently zoned rural mixed use, but the rural industrial zone would better recognize the recycling facility. So Rhodenizer Salvage operates a salvage / recycling yard where they do a variety of recycling of metals and plastics and cardboard and so on. They have a large amount of area to hold some of this material for when buyers are available. But certainly this is an effort to divert material from landfill usage. So in that regard, we are recycling. Garland, location-wise, we're in Garland, which is on the North Mountain of Kings County, just off of Highway 360. And this is kind of north of Somerset, north of Berwick area. And you can see Hiltz Road is a fairly rural location. This is a property owned by the applicants. And then again, all of this area is zoned rural mixed use. There are some A1 pockets in that area on the North Mountain, but for the most part, this area is zoned rural mixed use. And there's an access driveway on this property now, which accesses a small portion in the front. And it's expected that driveway would be used, and that's sort of shown here on an aerial photo. This is some demonstration of the existing driveway and cleared areas where some of this material gets held or stored as it awaits recycling purchasers. So our planning strategy allows for council to consider rezonings like this within the agricultural designation, with the exception of lands in the A1 zone. So if you have land in the agricultural A1 zone, which is kind of our prime agricultural land area, you're not able to rezone to the rural industrial zone. But in other locations like we have here, if you're in the A2 or rural mixed use zone, you are able to apply, and council can consider rezoning to the rural industrial zone to allow some kind of industrial use, in this case, a recycling facility. That type of rezoning comes with a set of criteria. These are fairly detailed, and these are the sorts of things that planning staff review and provide some analysis for the planning advisory committee in the future. But just to give members of the public some sense of what are the criteria that we review, these look at avoiding impact on agricultural operations and avoiding conflict with rural residential uses. Also, the intent is to limit the area of the rezoning to a size that's reasonably required to accommodate the project. So in this case, we've got a fairly large property, maybe half of it or some portion of it could be rezoned to the industrial zone. Not all of it needs to be, and that's one of those criteria in here. Also, this references another section, so the rezoning criteria specific to the agricultural designation in section 3.4 and the general criteria. So we'll look at both of these next. 3.4, these agricultural criteria. This is where it gets interesting with this application. These criteria primarily, again, looking at rezoning only enough land to accommodate the project. And again, avoiding conflict with agricultural uses. But this one here is where we kind of got stuck in this situation. Whoops. Go back to that slide. The area must not appear as in use as agricultural land on the 2012 land cover map. So this map was made with data that was generated by a consultant who did some satellite and imagery analysis to determine where in the county does there appear to be active agricultural uses, be that cropland or pasture or what have you. So that was a map that was, developed and has been fairly accurate for the most part, very accurate, but that does have some discrepancies. And in this case, on this particular property, the land cover map shows it as agricultural, but it doesn't have any history of agriculture. So one of the aspects of this application is one, the rezoning, and two, a concurrent amendment to the planning strategy to further allow for some review with this criteria. So currently it's just a hard yes or no. Does it appear on this map? Yes or no. But in this case, we've discovered that this property and some others, there's some discrepancy between the map data and the actual historic use of the land. So our intent is to amend this criteria to at least allow some ability for staff and the landowner to do a review process on that. But primarily, these criteria are looking at preserving agricultural land, minimizing impact on existing agricultural uses and rural residential uses. And in this case, we're looking at a small amendment to provide some review analysis for this land cover map criteria. So those are the agricultural specific criteria. The general criteria is a long list of other criteria that we look at whenever we have any kind of planning application or amendment to the land use bylaw. We look at whether the proposal is in keeping with the intent of the planning strategy. And we look at financial impact. We look at land use compatibility. We look at adequacy of schools and recreation and community facilities. These are sometimes more, because these are general criteria, some of these are applicable more to like residential proposals. So some of these do not apply to everything, but these are the sorts of criteria we review. Certainly traffic and congestion is a consideration in this situation where we've got trucks coming and going. We look at fire protection. So this is another thing, is the local fire department, their coverage of this area adequate? We look at sewer and water infrastructure when it's available. We look at potential for flooding or other drainage problems, as well as groundwater or well field areas when those are present. Excuse me. We also look at potential soil erosion or water course impact. Where applicable, impact on lake water. And we look at, again, negative impact on neighboring farming operations to try to minimize those. We also look at the suitability of the site, like is the property really steep, or in this case with a recycling facility, is it right next to a water course or a marsh? or proximity to utility right of ways. These be like power lines or other kind of infrastructure like that. So those are the sorts of general criteria that we look at, really just kind of location specific, what's in the area, and are there any kind of hazards. And certainly we look at traffic and those sorts of aspects as well. So those are the general criteria that we look at. All of those sorts of criteria and more gets put into a kind of analysis and a report that the staff conduct and prepare for the Planning Advisory Committee. But at this stage, we're just bringing this application, to the general public for comment, and those comments also get included into the staff review that forms the report. So at this stage, we're looking for public information or providing public information and hoping to hear from the public. The public comments, again, would get included into the report, which goes to this advisory committee. And then that committee makes a recommendation to municipal council, and municipal council would go through their approval process. As part of that process, they hold a public hearing, and that public hearing is another opportunity for the public to be engaged. So we're hoping that we hear from the public now at the very beginning, and also we'll send out another invitation to the public hearing when that date is set in the future. So with that, I'll pass it back to the chair. I just leave this slide up for the moment. This is my name and telephone number and email address, and you can reach me at any time with any kind of questions or comments. And I'll pass it back to Councillor Killam. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. I guess basically this is the time for public input. If there is any public listening in on this, in particular our applicant, Kevin Rhodenizer. As mentioned before, this is going to be posted on the municipal website, and the public has 30 days to view the presentation, provide questions and comments to the planner. And that'll be included in the Planning Advisory Committee report. When anyone has any comments, when emailing or calling with questions or comments, I would ask that the members of the public provide their name and address and community from where they're calling from. Now I'll leave it a second. I don't think there's anyone else on this at this time, Mark, is there?
I don't think so, nope. So if it's probably a pre-recorded situation, so if you're able to watch this video, you're able to provide comments and ask any questions.
Okay, if given no other folks at this meeting, this WebEx meeting, I will close the meeting and we'll go from here. And thanks, Mark.
Thank you.